Honor to introduce our next speaker, Ms. Smits Deshmukh. With over 3 decades of experience in media and journalism, Ms. Deshmukh has worked with India's topmost media houses, Times of India and Indian Express. Currently, she channels her expertise to mentoring the next generation as a faculty at NIMS, MIT universities and other universities. She is also a very powerful voice on social platforms, where she consistently exposes misinformation and challenges false narrative through her clear evidence-based communication. Ms. Deshmukh empowers audience to see through the smoke and transforming confusion into clarity by distinguishing fact from propaganda. Please join us welcoming Ms. Smits Deshmukh.
And first of all, thank you. Can you hear me? For coming here on a Sunday morning. Thank you, Tejaswini. Thank you, Mannthan team. How do I start? It's been a very, very long career. Sometimes I feel, am I ready to retire? So I am in my 36th year as a media professional. To tell you the scale of my journey, when I wanted to be a journalist, and typical Maharashtrian family, engineer or doctor, and I said no to both. And my father was crushed because what will society say, And I was born and brought up in a very typical Maharashtrian family from Shivaji Park. I mean, Shivaji Park people, you have a daughter in Ruparel College and she's not becoming an engineer and a doctor. I mean, my father was literally crushed. And when I told him that I want to be a journalist. The most important skill to be a journalist, of course, those days was to do a journalism program, which was only a postgraduate program those days. And to learn typing. Because journalists used to write on a typewriter. And I said, oh my God, besides learning to be a journalist, I have to go to a typewriting school. So see the journey that from a typewriter to sometimes I am traveling and somebody calls me and can you come on this program, and I'm doing the entire streaming from my mobile or my tab. So not only the content journey but the technological journey we have done from the 80s to 2025. What the most important thing, we are discussing here a subject called how to build your narrative, but I'll tell you what exactly is happening in Indian media today across the board. I would keep digital media a little bit out, but I'll tell you about mainstream media. When I say mainstream media, what does that mean to you when I say mainstream media? News channels. Okay. So when I entered the Indian Express late in the 80s, I thought I have come to a Marxist commune, because everybody out there were not only left, but they were radical left. I mean, the first objection for them was to see a girl wearing, a bindi. And people were saying, do you really like it? I said, I've been wearing a bindi all my life. I don't know why that should concern you. The tilt of the stories, the way we were covering stories, you can make out that very subtly a narrative is created. You have to be very smart to understand it. It took me 3 years to understand what I actually saw happening, what I filed the story when I came back, and when that story appeared. Can I tell you? There were 3 different things. I was very young and naive. I just came out from a journalism college. I didn't quite understand what was happening. It took me 3 years to understand it. When I came to Times of India after that, I thought I had come to a senior citizen Marxist commune. Everybody was an activist. And I was, right from the beginning, I was covering BJP, and then if you are in Maharashtra, you have to cover Shiv Sena, and then MNS also happened at some point. And we were like, ha, tum log ho, like, carry the stories. So all our stories used to appear on 579. We were destined to 579. I remember my father saying, what is this? Why are you never on page 1? All my friends are asking. I said, not for your friends, but I have to tell you that page 1 was reserved for the Congress party, anything that happens in the Congress party. And in Maharashtra, it has to be something stupid or inconsequential said by Mr. Pawar. Morning, evening, night, we were covering the same stories, the same people, and pages were given to the first. So the most important page when you see a newspaper is the front page and all the pages on the right. Because we read newspaper like this, we don't read it right like this, we don't go from left to right, we go from right to left. So page 3, 5, 7, all reserved for His Excellency and his people. The other aspect which, when I started talking about it, I became extremely unpopular. And I love the fact that I'm unpopular, they hate me, okay, they try to isolate me, and I'm a controversies child. Because if the controversy doesn't happen in a day, I feel very restless. So this is what I found. The narrative building in the left, please listen to this, and because I've been part of the system, whatever is coming to you is not my academic knowledge. I have been part of that system. The narrative building of the left is institutionalized. They come there with a clear agenda, okay, and everybody is linked to everybody, okay. So if I am, let's say hypothetically, I'm on the desk, I come to a big newspaper. I'm also surrounded by people along the other newspapers who are in that position. We know each other. We talk to each other. What are you filing today? I'm telling you, by 5 o'clock in the evening, they all network with each other, says, Aaj ki ye khabar hai. Whether the khabar is actually a khabar or not, nobody cares. And in the television aspect, आज ये चलाना है, तुम दूसरा चला ही नहीं सकते. Try. I tried, and that's how I became pretty unpopular. By 5 o'clock they decide, आज की ये खबर है. Okay? Even if Mrs. Gandhi would come to Mumbai and be at the August Kranti Maidan for a very important speech, somebody like me, I went to cover the speech and I came and they asked me, how was it? I said, it was shit. Seriously. I mean, there was no content, there was no direction. And I said, okay, but I'll file the story. And they said, don't file the story. The story has already come from Delhi. I said, WTF, why did you fucking send me to cover this story? Story has already come from Delhi. But the event was in Mumbai. I said, no, it's coming. Don't worry about it. And everybody, it's not just one newspaper or channel. They all decide. And why are they doing it? Because of deep connections and policies. In Maharashtra journalism, there is something called as a concept which I have written about it. They hate me to say this policy. Do you know we have a 10% housing quota policy?
Yeah. They all get it. All the leftists get it.
It is tell me something. There is a huge colony in Sion,
Bandra,
which is the
Bandra.
journalist colony. Bandra is like the old one, but I'll tell you the new one, which is even worse than the old one, according to me. Where I would say, let's say the cost is so high, you're getting a 2 BHK flat for around 20 lakhs. Okay? Now, if you get this flat for 20 lakhs from the government, would you ever dare to write against anybody? No, I'm asking you. Somebody gives you a 20 lakh, a government, I don't care about which government. You will never write, you are compromised from day one. Okay, so that happens. Then it doesn't stop there. How is this? You are looking at the narrative which is printed, it's on television, but the narrative which is happening behind, I'll tell you. Then, so, my wife is looking for a job. Kaka and Parivar will then give your wife a job. Oh, my son, has to go abroad. That is taken care of. I will also go with you to see that your son is getting the admission and settling down there. You understood? It is so deep that we have to go to the Patal to find out what is happening. And I figured this out pretty early. The first 7-8 years were like, what the hell is happening? And big stories. However, sometimes I've been going through a phase that even a surname like Thackeray is now irritating me, But there was a time when Balasaheb Thackeray was the voice of Maharashtra, was the voice of the right in Maharashtra, and the most, strong conservative voice. Very important thing, the Dasera rallies in the 90s and in the 80s were a huge affair, not like what we happened now, this Nautanki which we see. Those days, whatever Balasaheb Thackeray would say, which would impact us, he was talking about national issues, not Gaddar, Khanjir, Binjir, all rubbish which happens now. He used to talk about national issues. There was a time when the Deputy Prime Minister of India, L.K. Advani would be the second last speaker, Balasaheb Thackeray was the last speaker. Those stories which are impactful not only for Maharashtra but the nation used to appear on page 9. And I said the most important stories are just buried inside. That is the system. And I remember once I asked, literally dared, and even in the press conference, I have to tell you this, then how the narrative building. We would come to a press conference, all the main seats are already occupied by them. You have to be at the back. Even if you try to sit in the front, you are being thrown at the back. I used to always be at the back. And I remember once, and Balasaheb Thackeray realized this, not only with me but many people. So he did a trick. They were building narrative. He was like the troll master of the 90s. He would just bring one, like a stage like this, and he'll bring a big chair. And he'll put all the chairs of the journalists below. Tum log niche raho. I will be at the top. They would hate him for that. And one day, he had this one chair and everybody would be down, waiting. And once I was sitting, I said, Deshmukh, why you say? I said, sir, no, come here, sit in the front, learn to sit in the front. I said, no space, but I will sit. And in that press conference later, I asked him, I said, why are you starting a newspaper? It's a very risky business. I asked it, dared to ask him. He says, so what? Entire my life I'll be on page 9. In my paper, I'll be on page 1. You understood? What has happened of Samna today, I don't want to get into, and the quality of journalism in Samna and what they do now. But there was a relevance of a paper like Samna. Samna came because of the need of developing your own narrative. Okay? And I'm telling you, he reached a stage that journalists were forced, and the lefties hated it. Till the time I would say the relevance of Samna was very much alive, till Balasaheb Thackeray was alive, that they would hate that they have to get up in the morning and read Samna to know kya story hai Maharashtra mein. It would hate them. They would hate doing that, but that was also happening. Deep down, when I say that why we are seeing this fake or false or agenda driven or tilted narrative, because everybody is together, everybody is driven, everybody has a clear pathway of what I have to support you, you have to support me. And the more you dig in, somebody's wife is in this project, somebody's son is in this project, somebody's daughter is doing this, and everybody's wives, daughter, children, whatever, ex-lovers, existing lovers, husbands, wives, they're all part of the system. And the system thrives generation after generation. And what are we doing on the other hand? Zero. Because somewhere down the line we are also supporting an ideology which says we don't believe in developing an ecosystem. Let's do work. Let's do hard work. Let's not develop an ecosystem. And I think the fact that it is so institutionalized inside us that we don't feel the need of developing our own ecosystem. I teach, besides the fact that, I was in mainstream media for 22 years, then I went into PR and communications. My friend Sudarshan is here. He'll probably tell you other stories about how journalists behave with PR people. And I've been teaching for now over 23 years. So this is what I can say. When you see a story today, let's say something you come across on your mobile and you come across and say, oh my God, this is something, I don't believe this, or I'm like a little confused about that story. There are 5 things you can do before you forward it and give undue publicity to everybody. I will always check the name of the author and I'll do a basic Google search. Can we do that?
Yes.
Number 2, look at the year and the date of the story. Sometimes all these stories which get, created narrative, these stories are old stories, which are given a spin of a new story. Got it? The second thing. Third thing, the headlines are clickbait. The headline and the relationship between the headline and the story is zero. Headline is something else, story is something else. And fourth, I would say there's a constant attempt by everybody who is in media to say, if there is a case of a sexual assault or something like that, I'll never reveal the name of the attacker, but I will reveal the name of the victim. You understood?
Yes, yes.
The attacker is never. You have to go perhaps to the last paragraph if you have some patience left to find out who are these 2-3 people who have sexually assaulted this minor girl. You can do these 5 things and you can ensure that this story is totally false and not forward it or share it. When I say, as somebody, I run a very big program in digital media in MIT University, and going through narratives and looking at social media is like day-to-day work for people like us. And this is what I see amongst young people. And if you all are parents, then salute to you, because I think there's tremendous pressure now on parents to see that their children don't fall into this trap of, everything, not only left, what I feel is, the thing is, everything is bad in India. I mean, look at this, look at my road, this. I mean, now everybody wants to hate India, and the first opportunity is that I will go outside India. So you please, as parents, I would say that, as somebody who deals with young people, I'll tell you what is the age group of my students, around 20 plus. And this is what I've observed. Again, I'm saying not an academic explanation, but what I see every day. The moment the child is out after 10, the moment he or she comes into college, the umbilical cord is broken. The umbilical cord of ideology, thought process, value system, dharma is like number 7. Udhar tak main jaungi bhi nahi, I don't know. All this thing is broken. A new world is getting exposed, and largely the new world is where everybody comes and says, oh my God, what is happening to Palestine? Free Palestine. Tuja gully, what's happening in your gully? You don't know Palestine.
Queers for Palestine.
Yeah, queers for Palestine. I mean, it's a joke. Yeah. Seriously. So this is what happens. The ideology, because everybody is largely on Instagram. I have been, whoever I meet from the government of India, very often I said, why is the government of India not very active on Instagram? Sorry. All the journalists who want to interpret news, please understand what Instagram was never meant for news. Can we all first understand it before we share it with our children? Instagram is a visual app where everything which is good and beautiful, every business which is a visual business is supposed to be promoted on Instagram, part of the large Meta family. So I would say movies, travel, I would say lifestyle, fashion, food. Instagram is that for that. For news is where you have to go on X, for heaven's sake. So all these narrative builders on the left who are getting hammered on the X because of their false narrative building are all on now on Instagram. Literally a bunch of dumbos who are being followed by this large young people, and the news and the narrative which is on Instagram is actually the interpretation of news. Please understand what I'm saying. I see this daily. So this is a concern. I'm sure at some point you will address it. The third point. Majority of you, as I said, that what can we do? So I would say let's take a sample. If you can create a group of 50 people, okay, let's say 50, because let's not say thousands, it's not possible, and start communicating with each other on issues that matters to the right, to the conservatives, and to your ideology. and start that group. That group can then become little more active on, let's say first, because if you have to build the narrative, come on X, but if you have to hit the narrative, fake narrative, come on Instagram. Okay, even that 50 can become 100. Okay, and invest in that channel. When I say channel, means your page. Invest in that channel, boost that channel a bit. It's something you can do it for your own society. Okay, because on the other hand, there are pages which are being paid for, narratives which are being built for. You have no idea who's paying. Suddenly you will see somebody following this path, and something happens and this person is completely turned on the other side. And we will figure it out that who is influencing that person or who is adding some financial benefit to that person so that he has immediately changed his perspective in that. So remember that. The third thing which is very important is, you know, how much you can say we'll do it together, but when it comes to family, we are all on our own. I genuinely feel that this dialogue between the parents and the students, for me, somebody of the child of the 80s and 90s, I really surprised to see that the connect between the parents and the children is lost. Sometimes, you know, I had this one girl and it was very, very hot one October and she collapsed in my class, and immediately I took her close to Nanavati hospital, and I called the mother, and the mother says, okay, so let me know, keep me posted. I said, are you crazy? Your daughter is in hospital, can you please come? It took us a lot of effort for the mother to come. I'm not judging all mothers, don't take it in the wrong way. But it was just like, okay, now come home, and the connect is lost. Forget about developing or instilling anything in them. First of all, there's no communication. Okay? The third thing, there is seem to be like so much peer pressure to send children to universities which are so blacklisted, terrible, ratings are bad, but they just want to send them because of peer pressure. And it happens to me every year. Especially students who will go for communication and journalism, they will go to York, Columbia. My 4 students who are in Columbia, I have blocked all 4 of them because they did something so terrible. They have been part of a group which has been violently attacking the Jew students in Columbia. Indian student, my students. I have blocked all 4 of them. Okay, then some of them are going to the UK. I must say that UK is even worst. UK is worst. Okay, so they are going to these universities. No, I mean, I would, if they are not in the top 50, why am I spending so much money? And for communications and PR, and then they will go there, spend minimum, like the course is like, including tuition would be minimum around 70 lakhs. Tuition is, stays separate. And then they'll call me from the, but the syllabus is same. So what do you think we are? What do you think this country is? That my syllabus is going to be different or lowbrow in comparison to York University or Edinburgh University? What do you think of our education? You know, it's become so this thing, India mein kya ho raha hai? Guys, please, I'm in the system and I can tell you. Our syllabus and our professors are no less. Okay, maybe the way of teaching, putting out the way of teaching in terms of just, rather than talking, getting the students involved, the way of delivery can be improved. It's the same syllabus. So you spend 70 lakhs after graduating with me to go to York to show to your girls, hello, I am here in UK. You're not even in London. You're in some suburbs of London. Please don't talk, I said. But just to show off. So can we get over it? And I actually say this year, all the last 5-year students of mine who all went to Canada, 75% are back. You know why? 2 reasons. One, the universities they went through, they have major problems in terms of affiliation and ranking. These universities are not even recognized in Canada. और आप कन्नडा करके वहाँ चले गए like an idiot. And then of course Khalistanis, they go to the, why are you in this Khalistan rally? Because my uncle said, I said, don't you have your own dimag? Your uncle said come to bash Modi and you went? And what do you know about your own country before you went and bashed him? You're not even a Sikh and a Punjabi. You're a Maharashtrian, kasha maral tikde gelis. Your picture has been taken now. Now the Indian government, I don't blame the Indian government. I said, go hammer all of them, and if this uncle has an OCI card, he should be first blocked.
Smita, if I may add to this very interesting thing that she's saying, so quite a few of my friends, they told me that nowadays all these youngsters in early 20s or 19 to 22, they are protesting or activism in the hobby section.
Yes. She, he, him,
Yes.
and
So they
who,
go
ha.
for internship, hobby.
She, him, he, who, ha in their bio. Another thing which goes to this thing. So, so what I want to say is, if you're, first of all, there are multiple options in India. If I have to wind up this, I can talk for hours. There are multiple options in India. You don't know. I'm a professional career counselor. Okay, I can tell you there are multiple options in India. We don't know. We will not send our child to a Manipal, but we will send them to some obscure university outside India. Second, talk to your children. It's going to be very difficult, but you have to make that choice before it's totally lost. Yes. Okay? I'm also want to say I'm a pro LGBTQ, but I have a completely different stand on these trans issues. They get totally sucked up into that. So talk to them about LGBT. Trans, again, as a woman, trans is another issue. We'll discuss this some other time. And fourth, create your own group of narratives. Okay? And the fifth is, just because there is a story, and this kills me to say this, spend all my life in media, just because there is a story and it is being written and it's forwarded to you, doesn't mean it's the truth. Thank you.